Well, greetings and welcome to the School of Business and Leadership's annual conference on virtual and moral leadership. My name is Dr. Doris Gomez, and I'm the interim dean of the School of Business and Leadership, and it provides me great joy to speak to you and a little bit about the quest for moral leadership and to give you an overview and as we start this wonderful conference. The 21st century, and many centuries before, in fact, has seen its share of moral failures. Many are the witnesses of great leaders, including Christians, who were discovered in unethical and immoral activity, thus losing an essential part of their ability to lead. An escalation of scandals and moral failures has created a renewed sense of urgency to examine organizations and organizational leadership in an ethical context. The birth of an entire ethics consulting industry points to the recognition of the importance of ethics in organizations and their leaders. Sadly, the increasing commonality of elite deviance or wrongdoing by leaders has crept into the cultural consciousness and is stalling down moral expectations and sensibilities, so much so that the positive impacts from a plethora of formal ethics programs remain unchanged or have even declined when observing misconduct, reporting unethical behaviors, and pressure to compromise. Sales and Smith, for example, coined the phrase rogue executive to identify a growing class of leaders who seek and exercise the power embedded in leadership for the sake of personal gain. Others use the term toxic leaders to describe those who engage in destructive behaviors and who exhibit dysfunctional personal characteristics. Now, the choices and conduct of individuals that result in moral and ethical failure have complex causes and include internal as well as external influences. Palmer contends, however, that individuals, for the most part, do not lack ethical knowledge or convictions. They doubtless took courses on professional ethics and probably received top grades. They gave speeches on ethical issues and more than likely believed their own words. But they had a well-rehearsed habit of holding their own knowledge and beliefs at great remove from the living of their lives. Regardless of their underlying causes, unethical and immoral behavior almost always trigger wide-ranging effects that include an erosion of confidence and trust in leaders and institutions they represent. A leader is a person who has an unusual degree of power to create the conditions under which other people must live and move and have their being, Palmer says, conditions that can be as illuminating as heaven or as shadowy as hell. Alarmingly so, morality is often assumed in descriptions of leadership. For example, one of our leading thinkers, Warren Bennis, defines leaders as people who know what they want, why they want it, how to communicate to others to gain their support to get it, and they are able to mobilize others to struggle toward their shared aspirations. Now, by such accounts and definitions, Bin Laden, Stalin, and even Hitler were highly effective leaders. In this context, my mind kept wandering to one individual whose moral dilemma has captured me for quite some time, Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Of course, many of us know him as the young Lutheran priest that in July 1939 left New York almost as soon as he had arrived there to return to the rising chaos in his native Germany. Bonhoeffer had already been hounded and silenced by the Nazi regime for his vocal opposition to its persecution of Jews. He had been offered safe haven by American friends and had accepted it only to change his mind. I have come to the conclusion that I had made a mistake in coming to America, he wrote. I shall have no right to take part in the restoration of Christian life in Germany after the war unless I share the trials of this time with my people. Back in Germany, Bonhoeffer joined the small resistance movement, and soon Bonhoeffer, an avowed pacifist, agreed to join a conspiracy whose aim it was to assassinate Hitler. In the spring of 1943, after using his church contacts to help a group of 14 Jews escape to Switzerland, Bonhoeffer was arrested by the Gestapo. Now, for 2 years, he waited in prison, quietly ministering to his fellow prisoners. Then, on July 20, 1944, the long-planned attempt against Hitler was finally made. A bomb smuggled into the Führer's headquarters exploded, but failed to kill him. There then followed a vicious spasm of retribution in which some 5,000 people were killed. Some were shot, others repeatedly strangled and revived, their agonies filmed for Hitler's pleasure. One of those condemned to die was Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Now, how did Bonhoeffer, who had written in 1932 that the Sermon on the Mount made Christian pacifism self-evident to him, come to embrace violence? Did his ethical views radically change? Did he simply abandon them? According to Bonhoeffer himself, what moved him to action was his awareness of a Christian's paramount duty to act responsibly in the world, even when that action comes into conflict with conventional ethics. It may mean lying, breaking the law, even murder. The decision for violence, however, does appear to represent a profound moral failure for Bonhoeffer. He himself even never attempted to justify his action. In fact, Bonhoeffer told friends that he considered that his participation in the conspiracy had made him unfit for the pulpit should he survive the war. We look as never before to leaders to create and achieve a new vision in this tormented world, but it must be a moral vision, and our means of achieving it must be moral as well. See, leadership is so much more than management or governance, power or authority, rule or stewardship. It is instead about high moral purpose. The term moral leadership resonates with us as we see the need for a broader understanding of what good leadership truly is. Inherent in the word moral is the idea of right and wrong, but whose idea of right and wrong is the standard? No man can argue a moral case apart from the conviction that God exists and that He is the author of moral law. When men set about to construct their own moral codes, nothing but confusion abounds. For as even the skeptical philosopher Sartre observed, if there is no God, everything is permitted. While everyone has the capacity to be a moral leader, we must also learn fresh wisdom before the moral climate around us and in us changes irreversibly, and the sea rises to engulf the moral lowlands where so many of us presently live. The quest for moral leadership is both a personal quest that takes place in the hearts and minds of leaders and a pursuit of individuals, groups, organizations, communities, and societies for leaders who are both moral and effective. As such, we need heroes, people who can inspire us, help shape us morally, spur us on to purposeful action, and from time to time, we might be called on to be those heroes, leaders for others, either in a small, day-to-day way or on the world's largest stage. Regardless, the need for moral inspiration is ever present. The truth is that, lament as we might the absence of moral behavior by leaders today, we have to work to advance moral leadership. We need to help one another along through the moral leadership we show or through how we support it in others. Moral leaders are hard to find, so it seems. And so the quest must continue. I'm sure we will come across many wonderful examples of moral leaders throughout this conference. May we learn deeply from their examples. Thank you so much.